Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie, here with my guy, Mr. Idris Salam, a.k.a. Bosco from the Bronx.
Yo, happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday, bro. And it's not Richie and Noah tonight. This was, I just caught that. He's wreaking havoc in the other room. On tonight's show, we're going to be speaking on the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame's new nominees. We are talking about Mr. Big Shot Chauncey Billups and Vince Carter, a.k.a. Vinsanity, who are the head of the class. We're also going to talk about some of the contributors who are on the ballot. Jerry West is on it, which would be like a multiple induction to the Basketball Hall of Fame because obviously he is there as a player. So, yeah, we're going to hit on some of that. And keeping it basketball related, Stephen A. is on the shelf after rolling his ankle kind of bad. Yeah. A lot of people don't know this, but Stephen A. Smith was actually quite the baller in his heyday. And he's hurting it. He's hurting, but we're going to hit on some of that. I want to talk about why Taylor Swift, non-football related and non-NFL related, is exceptional at being a great person. Her contributions recently to the slain victim of the senseless shooting in Kansas City, I think is the narrative that we as people need to hone in on when talking about T Swift. Because, this was an NFL-related parade. She is not a member of the NFL, but she immediately did something for a family that is really hurting. But I'm starting this show up with the WWE, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. Blood is thicker than water. What am I saying? The Rock turning heel last night amidst some rumors after the press conference for WrestleMania. WWE Universe definitely spoke up and spoke out at their displeasure with The Rock getting a main event push to face his cousin, Roman Reigns. Whereas Cody Rhodes, daily contributor, weekly contributor to the company, kind of was down to take a back seat. But it kind of made the heel transition somewhat easy because the fans were already starting to boo The Rock, as only The Rock could do with having the crowd in the palm of his hand. He shows up yesterday, a la Attitude Era, with a cutoff Versace vest, one of those old school kind of designs that he would wear in the golden era, that added in the golden parts of the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
And it was funny. He was talking about the fans in Utah. He had them ready to cheer him. And then he said, I have never seen, because he said, you guys have set an attendance record. And he's like, it's incredible. I've never seen so many pieces of trailer park trash in one place at one time. So immediately,
that was priceless, man.
Yeah, cheers turned to boos. And he even brought up the because he made an assimilation about, Cody wants to finish the story. He says, when you lose in the championship, you don't have that luxury. Just finish the story on your terms. And he immediately brought up the Utah Jazz losing 2 consecutive titles. So needless to say, The Rock was having a good time.
Yeah.
I think it's the right move for the company, because I think when you're consistently relying on stars from yesteryear, you're putting your company in a position where you're telling the public that you don't trust your main roster.
Yeah.
And while The Rock is definitely a great entertainer and a guy who I think will always have a home because he always does come back after doing X amount of movies, I think it's the right choice. Now, they're talking about potentially, because WrestleMania is a 2-night event these days. That started during the pandemic and now it's here to stay. So I think what they're going to do is Rock and Roman Reigns as a tag team against Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins on night 1 of WrestleMania. And I have a feeling that leading up into this, it's going to be just a lot of curveballs coming at you. But The Rock, as a heel, in my opinion, was always the best version of The Rock.
I liked it, man. I really did because everyone sees Rock as this nice guy and da 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 da, blah 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 blah. And I remember the one time he came back when he first got tatted up,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he was kind of the villain,
Yeah.
And I'm old school. I loved it, man. I mean, for him he played the ultimate asshole. I loved it. I'm not gonna lie, I loved it. I know it was trashy, but I'm Gen Z. I'm old school.
No, I love it, man, because he's just so damn funny.
He went in. I've never seen so much. I was like, no, you didn't. I died, man. And to bring up the Utah Jazz, I mean, he dug down deep.
He actually gave the Jazz props in an underhanded way.
Yeah,
because he was like, they lost, and they lost like men.
Yeah,
and you know how the Rock he called the Cody Rhodes fans the Cody crybabies. And he's like, oh, Cody wants to finish the story, So, and when you see this big gargantuan, because he's bigger now,
yeah, he
was when he
now,
wrestled.
Man.
Yeah, freaking guns.
Yeah,
wearing that ridiculous cut off Versace vest, talking all that crap.
No, I loved it, dude.
No, it was great because like when he first came out, to because the thing with The Rock that it's similar to Macho Man Randy Savage, guys like Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
You're great when you're a bad guy and the people still love you.
They still love you.
There's been a few guys that have been able to pull that off. Ric Flair.
Oh yeah.
Hulk Hogan when he was NWO.
Yeah.
The Rock is one of those guys. Roddy Piper was great as a heel, where people still loved him, and the Macho Man.
Yeah. Well, you can't hate the Macho Man. I mean,
the Macho Man was phenomenal.
You can't hate him. But you can't hate him.
The Macho Man was my guy.
I just loved his just.
He had the best promos. Man. Yeah.
But I liked what Rock did. I really did. I was like, okay, Rock. That was it. That was on point,
Because Rock was the one who called the audible.
Yeah.
Because when WWE fans were going out of their minds about them feeling that Cody was getting screwed over, The Rock, in my opinion, did the right thing professionally. He said, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Let them have what they want.
Yeah.
But it was part of the promo that was funny.
Yeah.
He was like, you guys had it the greatest match of all time. And essentially that's what opened up like the whole Jazz letting it slip through their fingers thing. Like, in other words, he was saying like, you had the best match.
Yeah.
Now he's like, short memories. Last year, Roman kicked Cody's ass. So it's gonna be quite the story.
It is, man.
I thought they might have maybe hooked something up to where you would have seen something like what Daniel Bryan had to do about close to a decade ago when he had to fight Batista and then fight Triple H. Like 2 matches in one night. Savage did it once where he fought 4 matches in one night to win the belt.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say that Hogan fought twice in the same night because the second match wasn't really a match. Right. That was a highway robbery when he took his belt. Yeah.
The thing about it is I liked it because I used to be a huge wrestling fan. I mean, like I was like my shout out to my man Shad Van Dam, big wrestling fan. That's my boy down in South Carolina. He's one of those guys who's always ringside giving the wrestlers hell. He's a buddy of the ICP. They're like buddies.
Right.
He's like my little brother growing up here. And I was a huge fan. Then I seen Stone Cold leave, and I seen The Rock leave. I seen my favorite, Chris Stratus, and I kind of like it. Just got too Hollywood to where I really stopped watching. I might follow it, but I never watched it. But when I heard about The Rock, I said, okay, the Rock always brings something,
It's must-see TV when he's
and I was like, and then with Roman Reigns doing his thing, I said, you know what? And then when Rock came out there, it basically lambasted Utah. Like, yeah, I might have to watch this.
Because I remember when he came back after a long time and when he challenged John Cena.
Yeah.
They brought back the John Cena character one night only when he was rapping.
Yeah.
And, The Rock got his guitar and he's dissing Cena. Yeah, so I think that's the thing with The Rock is that his
Yeah.
promos were always just so damn funny.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, I know he's been playing the Rock for a while, Rocky Maivia. I mean, he's been playing that role, but it's
Rocky
like,
Maivia was funny because he used to get so much heat, especially with the nation. He took
and
he yeah.
he knows how to play. He knows how to play to the crowd. He
Yes.
knows where to get the crowd riled up, what to get them cheering.
Yeah,
I
make
mean,
no
he
mistake.
knows.
This isn't some musclehead that just got a couple of Hollywood roles. This guy's an actor through and through.
Yeah. He knows the game. He
Yeah,
knows
make
the
no
game, man.
mistake. I mean, he's a top 5 dude in Hollywood, no matter how you cut it.
Yeah.
Guy's
That's my dude, man.
incredible.
That's my dude.
Yeah, and it's wild. So he's also part of his comeback now.
Yeah.
He's involved with the WWE on the business side of things. He also was able to merge the XFL and the USFL, I believe, right?
Oh, I was so, you know what, the thing about that, man, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, you
When
go.
both leagues came out a couple of years ago, I said, you know what? I mean, I watched USFL last year and I watched the XFL last year.
Right.
Not NFL football, but excited. And I was like, why don't these two leagues just
But you
merge?
will get a couple of guys here and there that will draw the eye of somebody in the NFL and will get opportunities. I mean, shoot.
Yes.
I remember the first run for XFL where Rod Smart got an opportunity with the Carolina Panthers. He hate me. Yeah. Yeah. That dude actually made the NFL after that.
Now that they merged to be the UFL, I like that because you're not having an excess of football, one league and then another league. Now you got both leagues combined, and got to give it to The Rock, man.
Yeah, The Rock.
Got to give it to The Rock.
No, it's incredible, man. You know what he did in wrestling. Failed football career. He did try because he even went to Canada to play.
Yeah.
Came back, realized it wasn't going to happen. I mean, and even in college, he won a national title, and it's not like
Miami. Yeah,
it's not like he was a bad football player. But when the guy that you're competing with is Warren Sapp,
yeah, you want to think of a second career in your senior year of college because there's a good chance.
Yeah, good chance you're not going to win that starting job. But the thing with The Rock is like, I think what makes him so great, he's had the ability to, while making fun of pretty much anybody in the arena, an opponent, just tear him up, spit him out. He also has had the ability to not take himself too serious. And I think that is a huge thing that made him so great. And to your point, I kind of fell out of wrestling too for a good 10 years.
Yeah.
Because at the death of the Attitude Era and that when Ruthless Aggression started, I just felt like, I think part of the thing that people are frustrated with as wrestling fans, you have too many spoilers.
Yeah.
And it's almost too prepackaged at times, where the reason I love seeing a guy like The Rock make a return or a CM Punk is that you literally don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. And I think with The Rock coming back too, it was huge to get him back because CM Punk just came back and now he's injured.
Yeah.
He's on the shelf for about 2-3 months. So it came at the best possible time. Yeah. I think that goes without saying, but it's pretty remarkable, man. It's pretty remarkable.
Before we close this segment, I think it was Test who used to always come out there and challenge The Rock. I believe it was Test. I can't remember, but always come out there. I remember one episode he ran out there and Rock was like, whoa. And was talking to Test. He said, "You always coming out here knocking yourself out." And he's like, "You want a shot at the title?" And I think it was Test. He's like, "I want my shot." He said, "Well, okay, you're going to get your shot today." And of course, Rock grabbed him with the rock bottom, bam, and it was over. I was like, that was my favorite Rock moment, man.
There's a lot of them. I like personally when he did Stephanie McMahon.
Oh my goodness, I forgot about that.
Yeah, when he brought in Ronda Rousey, that was pretty good. The mixed tag against Triple H and Steph.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of good ones. But they're gonna get it right. I figure Cody to end Roman Reigns' run.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins, little spoiler alert, as I already said, he's due for surgery.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised if Drew McIntyre emerges as a contender for him to take his title. But plenty of storylines still to come with that, and we'll see where it plays. From something on the playful end to something actually quite serious. Why Taylor Swift is exceptional at being a great person. Some people enjoyed it. Some people were just flat out over seeing Taylor Swift constantly being shown at Chiefs games, most recently for their Super Bowl run.
Yeah.
As many of you know, the tragedy that occurred the other night at the parade. I kind of talked about it just a little because I had Noah sitting right next to me, so I didn't really feel all the way comfortable about totally divulging into it. But to put it bluntly, Kansas City lost a really good person in their community. Mother of two, Lisa Lopez Galvin, who worked at KKFI 90.1 FM.
Yeah.
And she ran a show, if I'm not mistaken, called The Taste of Tejano. Husband of 22 years, 2 children. One of her kids was actually also injured. He's making a full recovery. She didn't recover from surgery after being shot in the abdomen. And what I love about what Taylor Swift did is not just the $100K that she shelled out for, immediately. And I think it says everything about her. But right now I'm reading this. Donations have reached over 174,000 as of Friday. These are other citizens.
Yeah.
2 $50,000 donations were made by Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And, I feel that in a horrible time, her actions led other people to do something really good. And there's no replacing a mother, a pillar of the community, as it seems that she was very much so popular and involved in her community. But, I hope if anything, this time next year, it's not Taylor Swift's fault that the media always pushes her in front of us. Let's next time we look at this young lady, let's take a step back and say, you know what? That's what I'm not talking about, going platinum 80 million times and Grammys and all this other nonsense. I'm talking about from the person level, this is top notch.
I was a Taylor Swift fan since the first time I heard her. I had a little crush on her, I'm not gonna lie. I liked her song Mean.
You should have told her on the podcast. It worked for Travis.
Yeah, no. But I don't have enough hair to get the fade. But I like to, I'm not gonna lie, the only issue I had this year was the situation with Al Michaels. But I think she's a great person. And when I really sat back and thought about it, I said, although I feel that wasn't her fault anyway with what the NFL did. That was the NFL making the decision. I think they were wrong what they did with Al Michaels.
Yeah, I tend to agree, yeah.
But still with her, I've always liked her. And once I got by that, and I think it only took me a few days to get by it, I noticed how she was standing in the press box. And it, unlike a lot of celebrities who seek the attention, she never really seeked the attention. And even when they won the Super Bowl, it's like, this is not my time yet. I'm going to let them enjoy it. My time will come. Da, 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 da. She never made it about her. She generated all that money for the NFL, so they were loving it. And it's kind of like egging Kanye's face. Remember how Kanye disrespected her?
I do remember that.
Yeah, and then now Kanye's saying, I don't have anything against you, Taylor. No. Keep that energy you had against her. She was so humble even after you dissed her on stage. And for her to put her money out there and do what she did, she didn't have to. But she did. And she didn't make it like, I'm giving this family $100,000.
It wasn't no bullshit clout chase because truth be told, she went from Japan to the game to Australia.
Yep.
So when she made this donation, she was probably doing makeup or maybe,
everything but
Right. So
hats off to her, man. Hats off to her.
Because she wasn't at the parade. And shouts out to some of the Chiefs. Andy Reid was consoling a young man who was probably a teenager. A lot of the players, tried their best to protect some of these people as well. Big shout out to the Good Samaritan who took down the gunman. And the sad
Yeah.
part is these are kids
Yeah.
that actually are in trouble too in the grand scheme of
It's
things.
2 teenagers, man. I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, it's insane. This wasn't like a targeted attack on this woman.
Mm-mm.
This was that kind of situation where an altercation broke out
Mhm.
and dumb turned into absolutely stupid.
Stupid.
And
Yeah.
no, it's just inexcusable. You have multiple lives ruined,
Yeah.
and
Forever.
the healing process for her children, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
I think they range in the age of like maybe like 17 to 23 or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
relatively young people,
Yeah.
and it's supposed to be a day that you're happy, the parade's over, and that's how it ends. It's something that you'll never truly be able to shake.
And the thing about it is we live in an age where people clout chase, do all this. It's like it was sensitive. I mean, and it's going to affect us going forward because there will always be a Super Bowl champion. There will always be an NBA champion, MLB champion, NHL champion. There will always be a champion in team sports. And now it's going to make people wonder, do I want to go to the parade?
Not to mention, what is it going to look like now?
Yeah.
Because you saw how after the events of September 11th, how getting on a plane, quite frankly, is a very it's an anxiety-ridden experience nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I
don't
remember
know what's going to happen, man.
Yeah, I remember coming back from Puerto Rico on an early flight last year, in 22, and man, TSA did everything other than like completely. Like I had some coffee, and I know in the old days that's how a lot of guys used to move in shit. But point is that you're definitely at their mercy these days, and rightfully so, because you have to take those measures and precautions. But it's unfortunate because I remember in the old days, like you could literally be sitting at the bar getting wrecked within 10 minutes of having to get on a plane.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And now it's like things have changed so drastically. And it's like, even with something as simple as enjoying a parade, we don't know what the measures are going to be. We don't know how often you might have certain teams that are going to bypass this now.
Yeah, or you might have guys on the roof like, okay, we're going to make sure. But, even with that, things happen so fast. Even you got people on the ceiling, on the roofs, like, okay, we're going to make sure nothing go down. Things happen so quick.
I mean, dude, Super Bowl 25, when I was watching the Four Falls of Buffalo. Now, this was during the Gulf War.
Buffalo fans are not going to like that, the way you express that. Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's a good book title, The Four Falls of Buffalo.
Tragic stuff. But truth be told, it's like they had the armed guys up in the sky.
Yeah.
And this is like during the game. So it definitely changes the atmosphere of what it is. And it just kind of puts right in front of your face that no matter what's going on in this game, a much bigger, more serious feel of what's going on in the world.
What's going on in this country, man? The country is just like, I didn't see this coming up. In my 59 years, I didn't see this stuff coming up like this. Social media wasn't around, but it doesn't matter. You just didn't see this stuff happening.
I got to give a big shout. I got to give a big shout to my guy, Chaz Palminteri. I actually posted this on my IG.
Your stepdaddy.
Yeah. couple of hiccups. I might have been able to share a little screen time with him, but thing with he said something very powerful, where he basically said that what's going on in this country is not sustainable. And while I think as a superpower, it is our responsibility abroad to always take care of the impoverished, those who cannot defend themselves, things of that nature. I always believe that as Americans and as being a superpower and what we claim to be about, without question, that's always something that I always want us to continue. But when that takes precedent over making sure that our military veterans have safe places to sleep at night, dude, what occurred post-Vietnam in this country is egregious. Yes, to so many veterans, they're coming back not knowing whether they're coming or whether they're going.
Yeah.
And I know people dear to my heart, I'm not going to name drop, that actually are getting the help they need in terms of just from a psychological standpoint, some of the things that they went through. And this is not just one particular era. I'm talking about people who served this country.
Yes.
And when I think to myself, what's going on there? It's egregious, and just homeless people in general. At the end of the day, they're Americans. And to
You know
think
something,
that
Richie?
we
Okay,
can
okay.
shell out billions of dollars all over the world, but we don't
Yeah.
have money for our own, that is scary.
You know something, Richie? The funny thing is, like with me, I was military, and my problems didn't happen while in the military. My problems happened when I came home. That's when I had to get the help because the stuff I went through here at home, like I was homeless for I'm documented. I was
Yeah,
homeless,
I
and
know
like,
you told me the story,
and I'm like,
I actually learned
what's going on
more
here?
details.
Yeah, what's going on here? And it's crazy. I mean, we should help others, but we gotta help our own.
No, absolutely. Charity
Help
starts
our
at home.
own.
I always want us to take care of those that get bullied, those who cannot take care
Yeah,
of themselves. I'm not opposed to helping the Ukraine.
right.
I'm not opposed to hoping one day we can find peace in Gaza. But at the end of the day, it needs to start here. When you look at
Man.
Chicago, you look at New York, you look at Detroit. I mean, Christ, the people of Detroit, of Flint, Michigan, didn't even have drinking water. That's third world conditions. These are people that serve this country.
But we got billions and trillions of dollars to help others get their
The
water.
automobile industry, when everything moved out of there. I mean, you're talking
Right.
about that was the heartbeat of this country.
Yes.
So when, I'm going to veer off for a second here. Welcome to the show, Paul. Thanks for joining us. Good evening, my brothers. Do you feel that acts such as these indiscriminate shooting into crowds should have the label of domestic terrorism? Absolutely, Mr. Paul. No question asked. I completely agree with you, brother. For all reasons y'all stated about people. Yeah, because there needs to be bigger ramifications for this kind of shit. Yes,
And I think
Paul.
that's the problem
Yes.
I think that's why people do what they do, because we don't have those type of and I mean, I understand people have psychological issues, but my problem with it is we label everything mental health. Some people are just idiots. Some people just want
Yeah,
the
you
light
got a little bit of
follows them.
both at play,
Yeah.
and I wish Jen was awake because we actually spoke about this yesterday, and she mentioned to me a particular medication, and it just flew over my head. That almost, I think it's like a ridiculous 75 to 80% of shooters, like whether it be the school shootings, other incidences like that, and to Paul's points, things that should all be deemed at this juncture domestic terrorism. But I will ask her about that later, because if she was awake, I'd literally call her in here right now just to join this for a second. And like I said, I wanted to talk about this a little deeper the other day.
Yeah.
But with Noah right next to me, I just didn't feel comfortable because, you try to shelter them from this kind of stuff. And then on top of it, it's like, I feel like once a year, sadly, this is something. I remember the race crime in Buffalo.
Yeah.
You're talking about people like if my grandparents' age or if my grandparents were even still alive, that era, getting mowed down, going to the grocery store just for being black.
It's crazy, dude.
I mean, I can't even wrap my head around it, bro.
It's I don't know what's going on or how we get this over the last 5-10 years, how we get this rash of stuff that 20 years from now, if you said this would happen, we're like, nah, it's America.
We're moving backwards, and it breaks. It's crazy because like I think about it, like, and this serving, as Zappy knows, especially when your brother's in arms on that level. So soldiers aren't seeing this. Please bring your hand up, Idris. They're not seeing this. You know what I mean? Come on, bro. Come on, bro. It's sad. And that doesn't even do it justice. Ryan Shed, one of our main contributors here, correct, Rich. We could send billions to other countries, but won't take care of our own. It's a joke.
We just sent $95 billion to Israel, the Ukraine, and Taiwan.
and it's rare that I veer into this.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna tell you the truth. I'm tired of this shit. It's not
That's all
about
right.
helping other people that I'm tired of.
Mm.
I'm tired that we're shitting on our own. Also,
Yeah.
if the roles were reversed, do we honestly think all these countries? That's another good point, Shed. And truth be told, is that um, sometimes it's a mislead because
Yeah.
I can't know how anyone can call themselves a superpower around the world where educationally we are mid-tier to poor in mathematics.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what are we the best at? And I know that Jeff Daniels went on a tirade on this. And
Ah.
yeah, you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's more than just a goofy guy in Dumb and Dumber.
You know,
But
I'm gonna
yeah,
say this, and I'm gonna let you take the floor. And I was a Democrat most of my life, and I'm not trying to put it out there like that, like what side, but I'm gonna say it. And I fought Democrats for a lot of this stuff. The reason being because today's Democrats, and maybe some years ago, have this: we have to help everybody else. Let's plant flowers. Let's love, and I don't mind loving each other, but let's not da 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 da. But no one said we need to hold people accountable.
well, and this is an issue I have on both sides. Is like
Yeah.
I do tend to agree on some levels of what you're saying about the left. On the right, I feel that it's gone too far right
I believe that too.
to a level where there's no more moderate, there's no more sensibility, there's no more meeting at the 50, so to speak.
I agree.
And I mean, Christ.
That's why I'm an independent now. I say whoever I think is going to help us, whether we're this or that, and I'm saying the colors, whoever's going to help us together, that's what I'm rolling with, because we have a problem right now.
It's a big problem
because it's getting worse.
It's a horrible problem because it's even been proven that if you're just flooding money into impoverished communities, but not really overlooking it, a lot of the funds get exploited too, because it doesn't necessarily help with crime. We have an issue in this country with, I think I mentioned it on Casual Convo not too long ago, where we're a big disconnect with the police and people of color. Whereas, and not just people of color, with citizens in general.
Yeah.
But it goes without saying that that whole conversation that we spoke about with privilege and whatnot, that was an excellent one, and one that I hope that we expand upon in future shows on Casual. And, like I said, I didn't want to veer this all the way, but I cannot stand another good life lost.
Yeah.
And not speak my piece about some of this, because sadly, these things get forgotten about all too quickly. And then when you talk about how free we are, we're not free to go to a parade without worrying.
No.
We're not free in our mind and in our hearts to feel comfortable sending our children to school. So how fucking free are we? And
that's a good question.
And Mr. Paul made a mention. I'm going to bring this back up. That this mess is comparable to what I remember from the mid '60s. Sad. Yeah, Paul. I don't get it, man. I truly believe, and I think I might have mentioned this on Casual. If not, I'll mention it right here. I think that the powers that be, their wet dream, and ultimately what they do is that they have no shame when it comes to grabbing votes.
No.
And they try on about 3 or 4 different metrics to see how can we divide people. And they have no shame in this, because at the end of the day, they could say an Idris and a Richie. Let's say if we can divide these guys, let's try to convince these guys that there's something wrong.
Right.
We're just two in a big wheel spoke. But the point I'm making is that this is stuff that happens because they don't have to deal with the recourse, because Democrats and Republicans alike live very, very well. You talk about You talk about living off the fat of everything. I mean, even the way they tax Americans in this country, it's legalized theft when you really get down to it.
Yeah,
You
basically.
know, and even going backwards with women's rights in this country. Like, bro, what the fuck are we doing here? What are we
I'm
doing
not going
here?
to talk about that one right now because I will go on a tangent. So I'm gonna leave that one alone. But you're right. You're right. I got more, but I'll wait
I'm
till we
glad
have another show. Well,
Chanel.
I might make a reel.
When Chanel tunes in tonight, she's gonna be like, "Damn, am I watching my show?" Something that was really getting on me, you know, and I can't just like pretend that this isn't something real, you know. This one it bothers me on a deep level. Stephen
It's
A.
our
Smith.
children, man. Our children freaking can't go anywhere anymore, dude.
No, sir. I'm very thankful for the
Yeah,
era we grew up in. It wasn't that there was a
yeah.
lack of danger. It's just it was a better world.
It's a
Stephen
better
A.
world.
on the shelf. Um, Idris, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think Stephen A's wilding out a little for getting a little too involved? Or I kind of thought it was cool seeing him
Yeah,
shoot some jumpers and show
yeah.
some of his prowess because he was a very good basketball player in his heyday.
And and the thing about Stephen A. Smith, and people say he only averaged 1 point a game. There's more context to that, and I'm going to give that context right now. Stephen A. in New York was a damn good basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with Stephen A., the reason he averaged that 1 point is because when he scored his first point, he tore his knee to the point he could not come back and play ever again. So that's the 1 point he averaged because he shot the ball, scored, and no sooner or later he had one of them injuries where what's his name that just retired? Teddy Bridgewater had. He had a one of those injuries you can't look at.
It ended a lot of careers, even if we're talking about the hardwood.
That's why he walks the way he walks.
I mean, dude,
because it's been that way all his life.
I remember Derrick Rose when he was first run Chicago Bulls.
Never healed correctly.
He had to alter his game to stay in the league.
Yeah.
Look at a guy like a Bernard King. And these are just two of many.
Yeah.
But
Bernard King was, what if look at Grant Hill. Had he not hurt, what would he would have been?
Same could be said for Penny Hardaway.
Hardaway.
The list goes on and on of guys who were cheated out of more years. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Penny Hardaway was next level, where if man didn't get injured, I think he may have very well gone down as the most decorated point guard of all time, because early on in his career, he had the athleticism to jump a guy like Magic.
Yeah.
But he still had the prowess in terms of ball handling, in terms of being a facilitator. But when Shaq left, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he was all NBA early on in his career. Same could be said for Grant Hill. Grant Hill actually was joking around saying how during the latter part of his career, his young children were watching him with the Phoenix Suns. And he's like, yo, man, I'm over here trying to guard Kobe. Do you know how unfair that is? And then I gotta show my kids YouTube videos just so they believe that I used to be that dude.
I saw that.
But let me tell you, man, Grant Hill, one of the absolute best people in the NBA. Two of my cousins actually went to middle school with him.
Oh man!
And he was on the guest list for their wedding, but it was during the season, so he couldn't just make the trip. But Grant Hill, just a really good dude. Just a real grounded individual. Never allowed any of that to get to him.
Yeah, he never blamed. He's like, it happened. But the great thing about it is he was able to come back and still etch him out a good career.
And his father was a hell of an athlete too.
I forgot about him.
Yeah, opposite of the real '88 Drew Pearson.
Yeah, Calvin Hill.
Yeah, Calvin Hill was a hell of a player in his own right. Speaking of basket, go ahead, Rick.
I say, but yeah, Stephen A. I really wanted him to ball out because I know he got game. Pretty good jumper though.
Mm-hmm.
He got a pretty good jumper though.
Now, speaking of big shots, Vinsanity and Mr. Big Shot Chauncey Billups up for induction into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. I want to highlight these two because, in my opinion, they are the class of the guys. that are nominees. I'll start with Chauncey.
Mhm.
I think what was excellent about this dude is that if you follow his career in the beginnings, when he was drafted by the Boston Celtics and kind of kicked around the league as kind of like just a journeyman, he'll make the team, but not a guy that's going to make a huge impact.
Right.
But when this guy got to Detroit, and when I
Mm.
think about what Larry Brown was able to get out of him,
Yeah.
and just being a true floor general, a guy that I unfortunately think gets overlooked far too often, because if you look at the history of the Detroit Pistons,
Mhm.
he's the second greatest point guard in their franchise's history outside of Zeke, talking about Isaiah Thomas.
Yep.
And
Ain't that something?
no, it's pretty remarkable because, I mean, were it not for the Robert Horry big time three, Detroit goes back to back with the Bad Boys 2.0. And it's one thing to emulate and try to recreate something. It's another thing to emulate and succeed.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Ben Wallace, Rip
Mhm.
Hamilton, after he had that nose fracture, that nose break.
Mhm.
He kept the mask. And I almost
the
think that was
mask.
kind of like a personality thing at that point.
Yeah.
And that was a team that wasn't afraid to duke it out. Like they had some goons on that team.
Rasheed
too.
Wallace.
I wish my dad was alive, bro, because
Yeah.
my old man used to get a kick out of Rasheed Wallace.
Me too.
Yeah, so
I
like
love Sheed.
like whenever Sheed was like antagonizing a referee or just being himself, he was a character. My old man, like we'd be watching like the NBA on a Sunday, drinking a couple of cold ones. My old man used to get charged out of Sheed just pissing off the refs. He'd be like, Sheed.
One thing about Sheed, he would get a tech if he just looked at the referee.
Yeah.
He'd be like, what?
No, similar to what Draymond personality was.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sheed
I love Sheed.
She gave a cool story actually about Terry Cummings. That when Sheed was a young dude, he said, "Man, that guy treated me like a child. Like I couldn't get a rebound, talking just much shit." And that was like a rite of passage.
Yeah.
Back in the league when you were a rookie. Nowadays it's a little more kumbaya where everybody loves everybody.
Back then you had to earn your way.
I mean, recently Joel Embiid made it a point to make sure that Wemby, while he will win the Rookie of the Year hands down, he wanted to remind him that, yes, sir, you are still a rookie.
Yeah.
Patrick Ewing, I remember Shaquille O'Neal's rookie year. This was cool because unbeknownst to a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Me as a teenager, and Ewing was my guy.
Yeah.
But as a teenager, I didn't realize that Shaq had such admiration for Ewing on the come up. He inspired him to wear number. It was Jabbar and Ewing that were Shaq's two favorites coming up, and that influenced him to wear 33.
Yeah.
But it was so funny, man. So they had spoken to Shaq.
Yeah.
This is like TNT era, where he actually got emotional that Ewing never won a ring, and he said, it's like the Kung Fu movies. You have to kill your master. Right. But he's like, make no mistake about it. I had to fake it to believe that I was better than Patrick Ewing. And when you consider that Shaq is a dude that won 3 consecutive Finals MVPs, a 4th one as a support player in Miami, one of the most dominant personalities and big men to ever do it on the hardwood, for him to come that humble. And then they had a mystery guest on a podcast he was on.
Yeah.
So Patrick shows up.
Yeah.
Bro, I was dying. When Shaq said, "Man, you were so mean.
You're so mean to me."
He's like, "Why can't you just learn to love somebody?" And Ewing flipped it on him and said, "Listen, young fella, at that era of my life, I was trying to hold on by all means necessary. And, I had to play the psychological game with you because from a physicality standpoint, I wasn't going to win that one anymore."
The thing about that is, and I know we're moving way off the subject.
Nah, it's all good.
But the thing about that, and that's what this generation needs to realize. Back then, you just couldn't walk on. Like, look how Michael Jordan felt about Allen Iverson.
Yes,
he was like, you little bitch. Even with Kobe, Mike said, if you want to play like be like me, you got to play like me. And he really let Kobe have it, and that made Kobe step his game up. And like you said about Terry Cummings, and I was a fan of Terry Cummings too, by the way, out of DePaul. Those guys, like, nah, you're not going to come into this league and we're just going to be like, yeah. No, you got to earn your way. You got to earn my respect.
Correct.
Period. You got to earn it. And they did, They did. But as for them, yeah, I say the two people, and I might sound a little biased, but the two people that ever came out of Colorado that won championships are Chauncey Billups and my cousin Emery Moore. Now there might be more, but I'm just saying those are two in my book.
And your cousin was a member of the legendary 1985 Chicago Bears, and shouts out to his son, your other cousin Aaron, because man, I thought it was so funny when I tried to get feedback from Aaron, and I was like, "Come on, who wins if you guys played?"
Yeah.
Immediately before I could even finish the question, he's like, "What era?"
Yeah, whatever.
Like, because we're playing in the '80s. Their whole gimmick was kill the quarterback, kill the quarterback's backup too.
Yeah.
Like, but from a talent level, we had Peyton. He's like, their offense wasn't that good. I was like, you got a point.
You got a point. You need to post that clip too. As for Vinsanity, Vince, it don't seem like he's been retired that long.
Well, you know what it is? He played for so many friggin' years. Yeah.
And I'm glad to see him because he's one guy. He could have won a ring. A lot of people wanted him, even Golden State wanted him to come play. But it was like, I'm not here just to jump on a team to win a ring. And I like that he wanted to earn his way to a championship. Never got one.
He was the main man in Toronto, and little revisionist history.
Yeah, him and Tracy McGrady. But he left us with so many highlights. I mean, golly, man.
Sadly, you look back at his North Carolina run.
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys, the structure that they get in college is desperately needed when they're young guys in the NBA. Yeah. And when you think about, there's a couple of things that I think about. Tracy left. He was a sixth man. He wanted to be a starter. He actually backed up his cousin.
Yeah.
Goes to Orlando, gets the big money, but unfortunately started catching injuries.
Yeah.
If him and Vince stayed together in Toronto, I believe they would have won a championship. Not to mention that I remember, what year was this? 2001. Game 7. Vince had a really good look at the basket and damn near beat the 1-seeded Sixers. That was the Allen Iverson show that year.
Yeah.
But when I look back at Vince's career and really think about it, I mean, he did have a run with the Magic later in his career. And it's the weirdest thing. So Tracy was there, and then Tracy went to Houston, and then Vince went to Orlando. I'm like, why didn't you knuckleheads play together?
Yeah. It's funny how they found out they were cousins, too.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
The story they told how they found out. But I love Vince, man. My thing is just so many highlights, man. I mean, you can't talk about Vince unless you talk about his highlights. This guy was just like a real man.
I think the last guy that captivated me on that level in terms of dunk contest or playing above the rim, there's plenty of guys, but Dominique Wilkins.
Oh man, same ferociousness at the rim.
Yeah.
Power. Well, no finesse, just power.
Yeah, Vince grew up a lot too because, like I said, I'm sure if he could do it over, he would have probably thought things through a little more in Toronto, where he was literally the face of the franchise.
Yeah.
Whereas later in his career, he kept continuing to be more of like, a serviceable player, occasional all-star. I mean, and it's the curse of North Carolina too, because you know how difficult it is, being identified as a 2 guard, sometimes the 3. But when you're following in the footsteps of a Michael Jordan. So it happened at Stackhouse. It happened to Vince. Guys that come out of UNC that always get compared to his airness. And even guys that didn't come out like that. I mean, Christ, Harold Miner used to be called Baby Jordan.
Baby Jordan. But imagine
it's a hell of a label, because it's like, how do you even shake that shadow?
You can't. But that Carolina team, Stackhouse, Rasheed, and Vince, had they stayed together, but they all went pro. Had they stayed together, they had got themselves a chip. That was a 3 for you. I mean, oh man. But I'm glad he's up for induction. Him and Chauncey. I'm happy for both of them.
And Jerry West getting in as a contributor is pretty damn awesome. I mean, the guy's the logo already.
Yeah.
And we know what he did as a ball player.
And a GM. Now, he's going as a GM.
I mean, he's the guy who facilitated the maneuvering to trade a veteran in Vlade Divac for Kobe when people were like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
Because mind you, this was an era in basketball where a lot of high school guys were coming out and they weren't paying dividends. And it all started with a guy that didn't go to college to where it definitely paid off, and that's Moses Malone.
Moses, yep.
But you had so many guys like Darius Miles, a ton of dudes that bypassed college or played the bare minimum 1 year. If I'm not mistaken, I think Iverson only played 1 year.
1 year.
That's correct. And because that 96 draft class was outstanding.
Show Miles Smith.
A lot of guys.
That thing was deep.
But sadly, a lot of these ball players, I mean, Kobe and AI rose to the top. But a lot of these dudes, Steve Nash was in that class too.
Yeah.
Whereas Nash kind of was a late bloomer.
Yeah.
2-time MVP winner of the league. That's controversial, because I told you already my thoughts.
Yeah.
I feel that Kobe paid for an accusation.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in the room, obviously, just like I have my ideas about what happened with Pac.
Yeah.
Because when I look at that conviction, I'm like, what did they actually get him for?
Good question.
Yeah. My God.
Good question.
My God. All right. Goat debate for signal callers. We're going to expand on this on a future show, but with the last 10 minutes coming up, I did want to ask you, Idris, just directly, and our viewers alike. Patrick Mahomes, statistically, is neck and neck with Tom Brady at this juncture of their respective careers. Mahomes next year will be year 8, 7 as a starter. His rookie year, he only played, I believe, 1 game.
Yeah, I wouldn't even count that year.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
But, okay, 3 Super Bowl MVP trophies already, 3 Super Bowl titles. Passing metrics, you already know that as long as he doesn't have a terrible injury, he's going to pass Brady and a lot of these guys because of the fact that the rules are laced in their favor. And don't feel bad for Brady because he had the benefit of a lot of those rules too.
Oh, man. Dude.
My question to you is, just based on their careers and the other variables pertaining to their individual careers, do you already feel that he is well on his way? And do you even think that right now we could start talking about it?
We can start talking about it. I'm going to tell you why, because when you look at his 3 Super Bowls that he won compared to Brady's first 3 that he won, Patrick Mahomes won his Super Bowls.
Yeah, with the exception of 1.
Yeah, he won his Super Bowls. His first 2, he won those. And even with this last one, I think this was his best job because he had nothing but Kelsey and Pacheco.
I have to agree.
Great receivers.
What he didn't have in previous years, but what he definitely had this year.
So defense.
The best defense he ever had.
Yeah, and with Brady, if you look at his first 2, Vinatieri, the defense, he didn't have to go out there and win the game. So I don't think he'll have to get, Brady got 7?
Yes, he does. 6 as a Patriot, 1 as a Buck.
Yeah. I don't think he needs to get 7 to pass Brady. If he can 3-peat this year, I think if he can win 5, you got to put him there. 5 Super Bowls with a 3-peat. If not pass him, I think he's there. I don't think he needs 7. I really don't. Because, I'm not counting his first year because he played 1 game. To where Brady, he took over for Bledsoe. That defense carried that team pretty much. They said, we don't want you to win it, but just don't lose it for us. To where Mahomes was balled out. So if he can win a 3-peat and maybe 1 more, I think he's at least neck and neck. Just my opinion.
No, it's a solid opinion. I always tell people this, like when they do that Belichick-Brady debate, and this is not the first time on my show you'll hear me say this, is probably not the last time. But when Tom Brady was provided with as many top 10 defenses as he was because Bill Belichick was a defensive mastermind, and then he goes to a pre-made team in Tampa, I don't want people to lose sight of the fact that Brady was great. It's similar to the Kobe MJ thing that I always talk about. If you flip the eras, they still do their thing. The difference is that in football, if Brady's the 1979 draftee and Montana's the 2000 guy, they probably still have comparable success. It's just that the advantage for the 80s is that you didn't have free agency yet, so teams stay together longer. The advantage for the new age guys is that the rules favor them. So there's variables that you could make an argument on both cases.
Yeah.
As Mahomes goes, he does get the benefit of the league not being as physical. But from a skill-based standpoint, and I'm talking about just pure skill, Mahomes already is in the breath of a Peyton Manning, a Dan Marino.
Yeah.
Because I always tell people, Tom Brady and Joe Montana got all the rings. They're not more skilled than an Aaron Rodgers or a Patrick Mahomes or a Dan Marino or a Peyton Manning. There's variables, and I always try to remind people of this shit. Teams win championships. Like, there was a stupid debate on Twitter about Burrow and Mahomes, and people were really going hard on Burrow. I'm like, guys, teams win championships. Joe Burrow doesn't have a Steve Spagnuolo. Joe Burrow doesn't have an Andy Reid. And that's not an indictment on the greatness of Patrick Mahomes.
And he never really had an offensive line.
Exactly. It's just an acknowledgement
Yes.
that teams win championships. Nobody's going to tell me. I mean, Spagnuolo might get inducted into the Hall as an actual coordinator. That is super rare.
As a coordinator.
Yeah, 1 with us and 3 with KC. That's remarkable. But
I think I think like Marino, I would love to see him in this era. I would love to see Marino in this era. Because Marino, he's that quarterback that was in that rough era who didn't really have much to work with except for the the Marx brothers.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, he really never had a running back. And I would say if you put him today, even without a running back, I might pass for 6,000, 7,000 yards.
Yeah, yeah. He recently said that, and it's not that far out of the question. I know that some people have said that he's kind of a jerk. I'm like, I don't care. He was a great quarterback. That's why we're here talking.
I don't care if he's a jerk. Yeah, great quarterback.
Yeah,
Michael Jordan's a jerk.
Damn right.
Larry Bird's a jerk. But on the field, I mean on the court.
No, for sure. Yeah, that's what we talk about these guys here for. Last couple of minutes, I do want to ask you this. In your estimation, how good has Club Shay Shay become in a short amount of time?
Whew. The flavor of the month.
Best thing he ever did was getting away from Skip Bayless and that toxic nonsense. Because I got news for you, man. Nobody is seeing Shannon Sharp right now where he has really grown in his lane. I think it's pretty remarkable, actually.
Yeah, I tried looking at Undisputed a few times, and it just wasn't. Shannon just brings a different energy. He just brings that. He kind of brings that energy we would have if we're debating. He's real with what he does, and I think with him and Stephen A. on there, and we know Stephen A. got a big mouth, and a lot of Cowboy fans don't like him, but the man's good at his job.
No question.
And
you can't survive that long.
No, you can't be on top for 10 straight years. And with Shay, you got that guy who you drink your beer with. Nah, man, forget that. No. Perfect combination. Yeah, Skip destroyed Undisputed. Period.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate, but and once again, not the first time I said this, but when he took liberties and disrespected, because listen, I wanted to
Richard Sherman too just a couple of weeks ago.
That was messed up. And
the
hell with the football acumen and all the accolades. We know what he did as a football player. 3-time champion.
Yeah.
2 different organizations. But when you think about the kind of life that Shannon had on the come up, and if you have any question about the kind of character that Shannon Sharp is, I implore you to watch his Hall of Fame induction speech.
Yeah.
Where he was fighting back tears and when paying the big homage to his brother Sterling, who in my opinion was the second best receiver in the league to only Jerry Rice at the time. Definitely watch that. This was a quick hour and this was an awesome show. Make it a point to like and subscribe to our channel, the Richie Extreme Sports Pod on YouTube. For Idris, I am Richie. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Announcements to come soon for our next show. Have a great